A new and explosive lawsuit against FBI Director Kash Patel, filed by former FBI executives he fired. That lawsuit alleges Patel knowingly broke the law when he carried out the firings at the behest of the White House, and it quotes him as saying he knew he could get sued for firing agents without cause, but that his job depended on removing people who had worked on cases against President Trump because, quote, the FBI tried to put the president in jail and he hasn't forgotten it. What should we know? What stands out about this lawsuit?
Carol, the most striking thing about this stunning lawsuit is that it recounts alleged behind-the-scenes conversations with some of the biggest players in the Trump Justice Department. We're talking about FBI Director Kash Patel, Deputy Director Dan Bongino, and then senior DOJ official Emil Bovee. Look, our viewers have heard a lot about how the FBI has been politicized. Carol and I have been reporting on these issues for months. But here, for the first time, we have an on-the-record version of events.
Good to see you again. Adam here. Let's get into it. A federal court ruling has obliterated Trump's plan to turn the FBI into a personal loyalty squad, stopping Kash Patel's systematic purge of anyone who investigated Trump or his allies. The fallout is catastrophic for the administration, as Patel's scorched earth campaign to gut the bureau has been blocked. But then, something incredible happened. A federal judge stepped in and said, absolutely not. You cannot do this. These firings violated civil service laws. They were politically motivated retaliation, pure and simple. And they have to stop. The court has blocked further purges. The court has ordered reinstatement and back pay for the officials who were illegally fired. And the court has exposed exactly what Patel was doing and why. And let me tell you, the details that have come out in this case are absolutely damning. They are the kind of details that make career prosecutors shake their heads in disbelief. They are the kind of details that make constitutional scholars reach for their books to make sure they're reading things correctly. This is not a small administrative ruling. This is a nuclear bomb detonated right in the middle of Trump's plans for federal law enforcement.
Now to FBI Director Kash Patel, who has fired at least 6 agents tied to the 2022 search of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. That's what 6 people familiar with the matter tell NBC News. But 3 of those sources say at least 10 employees were ultimately dismissed. As you may recall, the FBI search was connected to the federal investigation into President Trump's handling of classified documents after he left the White House in 2021. He had pleaded not guilty and denied any wrongdoing. That case was ultimately dismissed by a judge who was appointed by President Trump. Monica, walk us through what we've learned about these employees who were fired, and has there been any response from the White House or the FBI at this point?
Yeah, you mentioned that there were those agents we know were dismissed, about 6 of them, but in total, we're told that these were 10 employees who work for the FBI. So that ranges to actual agents, to support personnel, and even including supervisors. And the FBI itself has not commented on this beyond a statement from the FBI director himself, Kash Patel.
A lawsuit alleges FBI Director Kash Patel admitted the firings were illegal, but carried them out anyway, because Trump demanded revenge against officials linked to his investigations. Career officials like Brian Driscoll, Stephen Jensen, and Spencer Evans were fired not for wrongdoing, but for their connection to probes that angered Trump. The case exposes corruption at the highest level. It did not matter that the investigations were legitimate. It did not matter that the officials were following the evidence wherever it led. It did not matter that this is supposed to be how law enforcement works in a democracy. Trump wanted revenge, and Patel was willing to deliver it, even if it meant breaking the law. Come on. This is corruption and abuse of power at the highest levels. The FBI director admitted allegedly that what he was doing was illegal. He said it to the faces of the people he was firing. He told them the president had not forgotten what the Bureau did. He told them his job was on the line if he did not carry out the purge, and then he fired them anyway.
And staying in the United States, 3 former FBI officials have filed a federal lawsuit against FBI Director Kash Patel and Attorney General Pam Bondi, alleging that their firings were politically motivated to appease President Donald Trump. The lawsuit filed in Washington, D.C. claims Patel carried out the dismissals under pressure from the White House and the Justice Department, targeting agents involved in investigations related to President Donald Trump. The suit was brought by Brian Driscoll, who briefly served as acting FBI Director, Steve Jensen, former Assistant Director in charge of the Washington Field Office, and Spencer Evans, former Special Agent in charge of the Las Vegas Field Office. Now, according to the complaint, Patel told Driscoll that he had no choice but to fire certain agents because his ability to keep his own job depended on the removal of the agents who worked on cases involving the president.
And now a federal court has looked at the evidence and said this was a direct violation of civil service protections. These firings were politically motivated. They were retaliation for officials doing their jobs, and they cannot stand. The court has issued a preliminary injunction blocking further purges. The court has ordered the fired officials reinstated with back pay, and the court has signaled that the entire premise of Patel's FBI overhaul, the whole idea of firing everyone connected to Trump investigations, is illegal. The irony here is absolutely incredible. Trump and his allies have spent years accusing the FBI of being weaponized against them. They have claimed that the Bureau was politically biased and targeting Trump unfairly. They have built entire political careers on the idea that the deep state was out to get them. And their solution to this alleged weaponization was actual weaponization, using the FBI to punish political enemies, firing officials for investigating the president, turning the Bureau into an instrument of presidential revenge. That is textbook weaponization of law enforcement. And they got caught doing it. The court has the evidence. The allegations include Patel's own words, admitting the scheme. And now the whole thing is blowing up in their faces in spectacular fashion.
Patel not only acted unlawfully, but deliberately chose to prioritize politicizing the FBI over protecting the American people. His decision to do so degraded the country's national security by firing 3 of the FBI's most experienced operational leaders, each of them experts in preventing terrorism and reducing violent crime.
The lawsuit also details efforts by other Trump allies to influence personnel decisions. Emil Bove, a former top Justice Department official, allegedly pressured Driscoll to compile a list of agents involved in the investigation of the January 6th Capitol attack. Then Spencer Evans, the former head of the Las Vegas field office, was reportedly fired over accusations related to his oversight of COVID-19 vaccine exemption requests, though the lawsuit claims there was no misconduct.
The public's confidence in the FBI hinges on the commitment of every FBI employee, from the newest special agent to the director, to relentlessly adhere to the rule of law without fear or favor. Americans should demand FBI leaders who make decisions based solely on the facts of an investigation and never on the desired outcome of one.
Let me take you deeper into what happened here, because the details of this lawsuit and this court ruling are absolutely extraordinary. This is not just about 3 officials getting fired and suing to get their jobs back. This is about exposing the entire corrupt machinery of how Trump and his allies have been trying to take over federal law enforcement. The lawsuit lays out in meticulous detail exactly what Patel did, what he said, and why it was illegal. And the court has now looked at that evidence and concluded that the officials are likely to win their case, which is why they issued the preliminary injunction blocking further firings and ordering reinstatement. Let me walk you through the key allegations and the court's reasoning, because this is a major defeat for the Trump administration's plans to remake the FBI in its own image. The firings happened on a specific day that is now seared into the memory of everyone at the Bureau. That date is important because it came after weeks of MAGA social media harassment targeting these specific officials. Trump's online allies had been going after anyone connected to investigations of Trump. They were doxing people. They were making threats. They were creating a climate of intimidation designed to pressure Patel to act. And on that day, he did exactly what they wanted. Brian Driscoll Jr., Stephen Jensen, and Spencer Evans were all fired. No legitimate performance reasons were given, no misconduct was cited. They were simply removed from their positions because of their connection to Trump-related investigations. The message was clear: if you ever investigated Trump, you are gone. But here is where Patel made a critical error. According to the lawsuit, he did not just fire these officials silently, he talked to them, he explained what he was doing and why. And what he allegedly said is devastating evidence of political motivation and knowing illegality. The lawsuit claims that Patel told Driscoll that the FBI tried to put the president in jail, and that Trump has not forgotten it. He allegedly said that his own job, his position as FBI director, depended on removing these officials. He acknowledged that what he was doing was unlawful, but he said he had to do it anyway because of the pressure from the White House and DOJ. In other words, Patel allegedly admitted to the faces of his victims that he was firing them illegally as an act of political revenge demanded by Trump. If these allegations are true, and the court found them credible enough to issue a preliminary injunction, this is one of the most blatant admissions of abuse of power we have ever seen from a senior law enforcement official. This is not some ambiguous situation where reasonable people could disagree about motivation. This is a direct admission of corrupt intent delivered straight to the people being victimized. The lawsuit was filed in federal court in Washington, D.C. It runs dozens of pages and lays out in meticulous detail the timeline of events, the statements Patel allegedly made, and the legal violations involved. The core claim is that the firings violated civil service protections that are supposed to shield federal employees from being terminated for political reasons. Career officials at agencies like the FBI have legal protections that prevent them from being fired simply because a new president does not like them or does not like what they did in the past. These protections exist precisely to prevent the kind of political purges that Patel was attempting. And the lawsuit argues that by firing these officials specifically because of their connection to Trump investigations, Patel violated those protections in the most egregious way possible. The court agreed, at least preliminarily. In a ruling that sent shockwaves through the Trump administration, a federal judge issued a ruling granting a preliminary injunction. This is a significant legal finding. To get a preliminary injunction, plaintiffs have to show that they are likely to succeed on the merits of their case. They have to show that they will suffer irreparable harm without the injunction, and they have to show that the balance of equities and the public interest favor granting relief. The judge found that the fired officials met all of these requirements. The court called Patel's actions a direct violation of civil service protections. The court ordered reinstatement of the officials and back pay for the time they were wrongfully terminated, and the court blocked any further purges of officials connected to Trump investigations. This ruling does not just affect the 3 officials who filed the lawsuit. It has broader implications for Patel's entire plan to remake the FBI. Before he was even confirmed as FBI director, Patel was talking about firing tens of thousands of federal employees across the government. He had lists of people he wanted to purge. He made it clear that loyalty to Trump was going to be the primary qualification for keeping your job. And he started implementing that vision as soon as he took over the bureau. But now a court has said, you cannot do this. You cannot fire career officials for political reasons. You cannot punish people for investigating the president. You cannot turn the FBI into a loyalty-first organization where the only thing that matters is devotion to Trump. The civil service protections exist for a reason, and the courts will enforce them. The timing of this ruling is particularly significant given everything else that is happening with the Trump administration. The administration is dealing with multiple scandals. There are ongoing controversies that are dominating headlines. And now, on top of everything else, they have a federal court telling them that their FBI director has been breaking the law. This is not the image of strength and control that Trump wants to project. This is chaos. This is an administration that cannot even purge its enemies without getting caught and blocked by the courts. And it is fuel for Democrats and anti-Trump Republicans who are arguing that this administration is fundamentally lawless and corrupt. The connection to the broader pattern of Trump administration behavior is also important to understand, because this is not an isolated incident. The Supreme Court is currently weighing multiple cases about Trump's power to fire officials across the government. Just recently, the court blocked Trump's attempt to fire a top copyright official, signaling that there are limits on presidential firing authority. The administration has been fighting these battles on multiple fronts, trying to establish that the president can fire anyone he wants for any reason, and they keep losing. The courts keep saying that there are protections, there are limits, there are laws that even the president has to follow. The Patel ruling is part of that pattern. It is another court saying, no, you cannot do whatever you want just because you are angry at people who investigated you. For Patel personally, this ruling is a disaster of epic proportions. He was supposed to be Trump's enforcer at the FBI. He was supposed to clean house and get rid of everyone Trump did not like. He was supposed to transform the Bureau from an independent law enforcement agency into an arm of presidential power. And he failed. Not only did he fail, but he got caught admitting that what he was doing was illegal. The allegations in the lawsuit make him look like a corrupt lackey who was willing to break the law because his boss told him to. Even if he denies making the statements attributed to him, the court found the allegations credible enough to issue a preliminary injunction. That is a finding that Patel is likely to lose if this case goes to trial. His credibility is destroyed, his authority is undermined, and his future at the FBI is now in serious question. Let me break this down into what it actually means and why you should care about it. Because this is not just about 3 officials getting their jobs back. This is about whether the FBI can be turned into a political weapon. This is about whether civil service protections mean anything. And this is about whether there are any limits on Trump's ability to use federal law enforcement for personal revenge. Let me give you the key things you need to understand about this situation. Patel allegedly admitted the firings were illegal and did them anyway, because Trump demanded it. This is the most damaging allegation in the entire lawsuit, and it is the foundation for everything else. If Patel really told these officials that he knew what he was doing was unlawful, but that his job depended on it, that is an admission of corrupt intent. That is proof that the firings were not about performance or misconduct, but about political retaliation. That is evidence that Trump is using the FBI director as an instrument of personal revenge, and it explains why the court found the officials likely to succeed in their lawsuit. When the person doing the firing admits it is illegal, that makes the case pretty straightforward. Patel may deny making these statements. He may claim the officials are lying or misremembering, but the court found the allegations credible, and they are now part of the official record of this case. The court's ruling blocks the entire Trump FBI purge, not just these 3 firings. The preliminary injunction does not just reinstate Driscoll, Jensen, and Evans. It signals to everyone at the FBI that political purges will not be tolerated. It puts Patel on notice that further firings of officials connected to Trump investigations will face immediate legal challenge. It establishes that civil service protections actually mean something, that career officials cannot be terminated simply because the president is angry at them. This is a major constraint on Trump's plans to remake the FBI. He wanted to fire everyone who ever investigated him. He wanted to install loyalists at every level of the bureau. He wanted an FBI that would do his bidding without question. The court has said no, there are limits and we will enforce them. This exposes the hypocrisy of Trump's weaponization claims. For years, Trump and his allies have accused the FBI of being weaponized against them. They have claimed that investigations of Trump were politically motivated. They have argued that the Bureau was biased and unfair, and their proposed solution was to actually weaponize the FBI, to fire officials for investigating the president, to install a director who would prioritize loyalty over law, to turn the Bureau into an instrument of presidential revenge. That is real weaponization. That is using law enforcement power to punish political enemies and protect friends. And now a court has exposed it for exactly what it is. The people screaming about weaponization were the ones doing the weaponizing. The people claiming to fight politicization were the ones politicizing the FBI. And their hypocrisy is now documented in a federal court ruling. Kash Patel's position as FBI director is now untenable. Think about what it means to have a federal court find that you likely broke the law in carrying out your core duties. Think about what it means to have allegations in the public record that you admitted to illegal conduct. Think about what it means to have your signature initiative, the purge of Trump investigation officials, blocked by a court and declared unlawful. Patel cannot effectively lead the FBI after this. His authority is compromised. His credibility is destroyed. Every decision he makes will be questioned. Every action he takes will be scrutinized for political motivation. He is now radioactive, a liability for an administration that is already struggling with multiple scandals. There are already reports that Trump is weighing whether to oust Patel. And while the White House has denied those reports, the fact that they are circulating tells you that Patel's future is very much in doubt. This fits a broader pattern of courts blocking Trump's most aggressive power grabs. The Patel ruling is not happening in isolation. It is part of a consistent pattern of federal courts pushing back against the Trump administration's attempts to concentrate power and punish enemies. The Supreme Court blocked Trump from firing a top copyright official. Lower courts have ruled against National Guard deployments in cities. Judges have thrown out revenge prosecutions against Trump's perceived enemies. And now a court has blocked the FBI purge and ordered reinstatement of fired officials. What we are seeing is the judiciary, the third branch of government, actually functioning as a check on executive overreach. For everyone who worried that Trump would face no constraints, for everyone who feared that he would be able to do whatever he wanted, these rulings are evidence that the system is working imperfectly, slowly, but working. Here is the bottom line. Kash Patel, Trump's FBI director, allegedly admitted that firing senior officials was illegal, but did it anyway because Trump demanded revenge against anyone who investigated him. A federal court has now ruled that these firings violated civil service laws and were politically motivated retaliation. The court has blocked further purges, ordered reinstatement of the fired officials, and exposed the corrupt machinery behind Trump's FBI overhaul. Patel's position is now untenable. His authority is compromised. His signature initiative has been declared unlawful. And the broader Trump plan to remake the FBI into a loyalty-first organization has suffered a devastating setback. The irony is thick enough to cut with a knife. Trump accused the FBI of being weaponized against him. And his solution was actual weaponization, using the Bureau to punish people who investigated him. He installed Patel specifically to carry out this purge, and Patel allegedly admitted that what he was doing was illegal, but did it anyway, because his job depended on it. That is not draining the swamp. That is swimming in it. That is corruption so blatant that even a court system stacked with Trump appointees could not ignore it. Let me be crystal clear about what this ruling actually does. The court did not just slap Patel on the wrist and tell him to be more careful next time. The court did not issue a symbolic ruling that would be ignored by the administration. The court issued a preliminary injunction that has real teeth. It blocks further purges. It orders reinstatement. It requires back pay. It puts the entire FBI purge operation on hold. This is not a suggestion. This is not a request. This is a court order that the administration is legally obligated to follow. If Patel tries to fire anyone else connected to Trump investigations, he will be in contempt of court. If he refuses to reinstate the fired officials, he will be in contempt of court. If he tries to find ways around this ruling, he will be in contempt of court. The court has drawn a line in the sand and said, you cannot cross this. The ruling also has implications beyond the immediate case because it establishes legal precedent. Other officials who were fired or targeted in the purge may now be able to bring their own lawsuits. The court's reasoning provides a roadmap for how to challenge these firings. The finding that the firings were politically motivated retaliation is not just specific to these three cases. It suggests that any firing connected to Trump investigations would face the same legal scrutiny. This could open the floodgates to dozens of lawsuits from career officials who were purged or threatened with purging. The administration could be facing years of litigation and hundreds of millions of dollars in back pay and damages. And let's talk about the political fallout because this is going to be massive. Democrats are already seizing on this ruling as evidence of Trump's lawlessness. They are calling for investigations into Patel's conduct. They are demanding that Patel resign or be fired. They are using this ruling to argue that the entire Trump administration is corrupt and unfit to govern. Republican senators who voted to confirm Patel are now facing tough questions about whether they were misled. The White House is going to have to answer for why their hand-picked FBI director was caught admitting he was breaking the law. This is going to be a major issue in the upcoming elections. This is going to be used in attack ads and campaign speeches. This is going to be a stain on the administration that will not wash out. Trump himself is going to be furious about this ruling. He handpicked Patel specifically to carry out this purge. He made it clear that he wanted revenge on the people who investigated him. He expected Patel to deliver, and now Patel has delivered nothing but legal trouble and bad headlines. Trump may decide that Patel has outlived his usefulness. He may throw Patel under the bus and claim he never authorized the illegal firings. He may try to distance himself from the whole mess, but the problem for Trump is that the allegations include that Patel was doing this because Trump demanded it. The lawsuit connects the firings directly to Trump's desire for revenge. Even if Trump fires Patel and claims he knew nothing, the connection has been made. The public record now shows that Trump wanted revenge on the FBI and Patel was carrying it out. Let me also address what this means for the broader FBI. The Bureau has been through an incredibly difficult period. It has been attacked from all sides. It has been accused of bias by the left and the right. It has seen morale plummet as political interference has increased. And now, just when things seem to be getting worse, a court has stepped in and said the law still matters. For career officials at the FBI who have been watching this purge with dread, this ruling is a massive relief. It tells them that they cannot be fired for doing their jobs. It tells them that the protections they were promised actually exist. It tells them that there are still institutions willing to stand up for the rule of law. This ruling may not fix all the problems at the FBI. It may not heal the divisions or restore the morale that has been damaged, but it is a start. It is a signal that the courts are watching and they will not allow the Bureau to be turned into a political tool. Now, the court ruling does not end the fight. Patel and the administration will certainly appeal. They will argue that the president has broad authority over executive branch personnel. They will claim that the firings were legitimate and the officials are just disgruntled employees. They will try to delay and obstruct and find some way around the ruling. But for now, the purge is blocked. the officials are being reinstated, and the message has been sent that political revenge firings will not be tolerated by the courts. A federal court blocked Kash Patel's purge of FBI officials, ruling that the director broke the law by targeting anyone who investigated Trump. The victory upholds civil service protections and sends a clear message. Even the FBI director and the president are not above the law. The administration will appeal, but for now, the rule of law has won.